This article, completed in February of 1961, was published in Metro Milan in May. It may be read in whole or in part. Any sections of it may be skipped. What remains may be read in any order. The style of printing here employed is not essential. Any of the sections may be printed directly over any of the others, and the spaces between paragraphs may be varied in any manner. The words in italics are either quotations from Rauschenberg or titles of his works. To whom it may concern, the white paintings came first, my silent piece came later. J.C. On Robert Rauschenberg, artist and his work. Conversation was difficult and correspondence virtually ceased, not because of the mails, which continued. People spoke of messages, perhaps because they'd not heard from one another for a long time. Art flourished. The goat, no weeds, virtuosity with ease. Does his head have a bed in it? Beauty. His hands and his feet, fingers and toes long jointed, are astonishing. They certify his work. And the signature is nowhere to be seen. The paintings were thrown into the river after the exhibition. What is the nature of art when it reaches the sea? Beauty is now underfoot, wherever we take the trouble to look. This is an American discovery. Is when Rauschenberg looks an idea? Rather, it is an entertainment in which to celebrate unfixity. Why did he make black paintings, then white ones, coming up out of the South, red, gold ones? The gold ones were Christmas presents, ones of many colors, ones with objects attached. Why did he make sculptures with rocks suspended? Talented. I know he put the paint on the tires, and he unrolled the paper on the city street. But which one of us drove the car? As the paintings changed, the printed material became as much of a subject as the paint. I began using newsprint in my work, causing changes of focus. A third palette. There is no poor subject. Any incentive to paint is as good as any other. Dante is an incentive, providing multiplicity, as useful as a chicken or an old shirt. The atmosphere is such that everything is seen clearly, even in the dark night or when thumbing through an out-of-date newspaper or poem. This subject is unavoidable. A canvas is never empty. it fills an empty canvas. And if, to continue history, newspapers are pasted onto the canvas and on one another, and black paints are applied, the subject looms up in several different places at once, like magic, to produce the painting. If you don't see it, you probably need a pair of glasses. But there is a vast difference between one oculist and another. And when it is a question of losing eyesight, the best thing to do is to go to the best oculist, i.e., the best painter. He'll fix you up. Ideas are not necessary. It is more useful to avoid having one, certainly avoid having several, leads to inactivity. Is Gloria V a subject or an idea? Then tell us, how many times was she married, and what do you do when she divorces you? There are 3 panels taller than they are wide, fixed together to make a single rectangle wider than it is tall. Across the whole thing is a series of colored photos, some wider than tall, some taller than wide, fragments of posters, some of them obscured by paint. Underneath these, cutting the total in half, is a series of rectangular color swatches, all taller than wide. Above, bridging 2 of the panels, is a dark blue rectangle. Below, and slightly out of line with the blue one, since it is on one panel only, is a gray rectangle with a drawing on it about halfway up. There are other things, but mostly attached to these 2 roads which cross. Off to the left and below the swatches is a drawing on a rectangle, on a rectangle, on a rectangle. Its situation is that of a farm on the outskirts of a Main Street town. This is not a composition. It is a place where things are, as on a table or on a town seen from the air. Any one of them could be removed and another come into its place through circumstances analogous to birth and death. Travel, house cleaning, or cluttering. He is not saying he is painting. What is Rauschenberg saying? The message is conveyed by dirt, which, mixed with an adhesive, sticks to itself and to the canvas
upon which he places it. Crumbling and responding to changes in weather, the dirt unceasingly does my thinking. He regrets we do not see the paint while it's dripping. Rauschenberg is continually being offered scraps of this and that, odds and ends his friends run across, since it strikes them. This is something he could use in a painting. 9 times out of 10, it turns out he has no use for it. Say it's something close to something he once found useful, and so could be recognized as his. Well then, as a matter of course, his poetry has moved without one's knowing where it's gone to. He changes what goes on a canvas, but he does not change how canvas is used for painting. That is, stretched flat to make rectangular surfaces which may be hung on a wall. These he uses singly, joined together, or placed in a symmetry so obvious as not to attract interest. Nothing special. We know two ways to unfocus attention. Symmetry is one of them. The other is the overall, where each small part is a sample of what you find elsewhere. In either case, there is at least the possibility of looking anywhere, not just where someone arranged you should. You are then free to deal with your freedom, just as the artist dealt with his. Not in the same way, but nevertheless, originally. This thing, he says, duplication of images, that is symmetry. All it means is that, looking closely, we see as it was, everything is in chaos still. To change the subject, art is the imitation of nature in her manner of operation, or a net. So somebody has talent. So what? Dime a dozen, and we're overpopulated. Actually, we have more food than we have people, and more art. We've gotten to the point of burning food. When will we begin to burn our art? The door is never locked. Rauschenberg walks in. No one home. He paints a new painting over the old one. Is there a talent, then, to keep the two, the one above, the one below? What a plight. It's no more serious than that. We're in. It's a joy, in fact, to begin over again. In preparation, he erases the de Kooning. Is the door locked? No, it's open as usual. Certainly Rauschenberg has technique, but the ones he has he disuses, using those he hasn't. I must say he never forces a situation. He is like that butcher whose knife never became dull simply because he cut with it in such a way that it never encountered an obstacle. Modern art has no need for technique. We are in the glory of not knowing what we're doing. So technique, not having to do with the painting, has to do with who's looking and who painted. People. Technique is, how are the people? Not how well did they do it, but, as they were saying, frailty. He says, and is he speaking of technique? What do you want? A declaration of love? I take responsibility for competence and hope to have made something hazardous with which we may try ourselves. It is a question then of seeing in the dark, not slipping over things visually. Now that Rauschenberg has made a painting with radios in it, does that mean that even without radios, I must go on listening, even while I'm looking? Everything at once, in order not to be run over. Would we have preferred a pig with an apple in its mouth? That, too, on occasion, is a message and requires a blessing. These are the feelings Rauschenberg gives us. Love, wonder, heroism, I accept, fear, sorrow, anger, disgust, tranquility. There is no more subject in a combine than there is in a page from a newspaper. Each thing that is, there is a subject. It is a situation involving multiplicity.